Ciaran Mulligan, Managing Director of Blue Insurance. I think a lot of people want to know what their rights are in relation to actually maybe having to cancel a holiday, or if it's cancelled on them. What happens?
Well, at the moment, the current situation is the Department of Foreign Affairs are not advising of travelling to, say, for example, Tenerife. They have given an advisory in relation to 10 different small towns in Italy. And unless you have in your policy government travel advice benefit, which is with, as Pat like to say, with the travel agents, they have that on their cover, and with Blue Insurance and other providers, then if you're due to depart within 14 days and the government travel advice is do not travel to that area or region, then your policy will cover you for that.
It'll cover you for what? For the cost of the flights and accommodation you've booked?
It will cover you for the limit that's on your policy. You know, that may be less than your flight. It could be more than your flight, but you'll be covered up to what the cost is, what the limit is in your policy. If you have travel disruption cover, and that's probably one of the widest covers out there, it's optional. That will cover you if on the day that you're due to travel, the Department of Foreign Affairs say you are not to travel to a region, then that policy will cover you up to €1,000 per person to cancel your trip or rearrange your trip depending on what your options are at that time. But it all depends on the Department of Foreign Affairs advising you at the time that you're not to travel. So government travel advice is within 14 days, and obviously then with travel disruptions on the day of travel, if you're due to travel and they say you're not to travel, then you're covered by your policy as well. I had a situation this morning, my parents-in-law to be, they were due to fly to Tenerife today. My father-in-law to be, he has a flu at the moment, but he's feeling better, he's getting better, but they decided against travelling. So people that are nervous...
Do they get covered then because they make it their own decision, or do they...
No, I got on to Aer Lingus, I moved flights around for them and hotel, moving it on. But that's where your travel agents or you as an individual will need to do that.
Yeah, because we have a listener who says, we're supposed to be flying to Tenerife next week. My partner has a lung condition. We've no idea what to do now. I'd imagine a lot of people are worried about whether they actually should go to places which might be affected.
Yeah, again, you have to take into account, as I say, the general flu in the States, 6% of people from the general flu have died in the States last year. This year, there's only 3% of people, 24 are outside China that have died. So it is still a smaller, the general flu is actually more dangerous. However, people need to take into consideration what your conditions are like, etc., elderly and so on. Most people that are younger in good health are not, they may catch the flu, but they're not going to have any serious complications from it.
Do people need to check their travel insurance though? Because some people go for a multi-trip, they get an annual reminder, but will that necessarily cover events such as this, or do they have to put add-ons to it?
On some policies, government travel advice is automatically included, and that's within the 14 days of departure. DFA tells you do not travel, then you're covered up to the limit that's on your policy. If you've got travel disruption cover and you added that onto your policy, it is an optional cover. Then on the day of departure, if they say you're not to travel, then you are covered by your policy as well.
Can you do it now though and have it cover, like if maybe not for Tenerife but for other places, just in case this virus spreads?
There is a 7-day moratorium on it, so in the first 7 days you cannot claim under your policy. But if there is no coronavirus in a certain region that you're going to, and that develops and you have the travel disruption covered, then you can do that, and that's available on blueinsurance.ie or multitrip.com, whichever options there are for different people.
You can add in relation to that. Okay, and have you noticed that people now are thinking of giving up holidays or whatever and stuff? Have we reached that stage yet?
No, not at all. What we're seeing is a spike in travel insurance in the past 2 days. It's nearly doubled.
I'd say you have.
Yeah. So I think people work all year. They want to get away. Unless really, for me personally, if I was going down to Tenerife, if I was going to Costa Deca, the resort, I would probably go. But if I was going to the hotel, I might think different. That's all.
We've heard of the schools coming back, which are now been asked to go into quarantine, perhaps coming back from Northern Italy. I've also heard of one Dublin school which was due to travel yesterday, postponed at the last minute. If you have a situation like that, are you able to claim compensation from somebody?
Well, those people probably have come back, so there isn't compensation to claim there.
Those who were about to go, who maybe have to cancelling events?
Again, the DFA have to decide that you're not to travel to a certain region. So say Veneto, one of the regions or one of the small towns in Italy where it's saying do not travel to. If you were travelling and staying in that resort, then yes, you will be covered if you have government travel advice on your policy or travel disruption.
Thank you very much, Ciaran Mulligan, Managing Director of Blue Insurance.